AM750.com.
Fox News Radio, I'm Dave Anthony. They don't have classes today at Delta State University, but they also don't have to hide in their dorms. A professor who murdered another professor on the Mississippi campus is dead.
University police say officers were in pursuit of Shannon Lamb. He was the suspect in the deaths of his live-in girlfriend, Amy Prentice, and history professor Ethan Schmidt. Police say Lamb told them he would not go to jail, and he meant it. When police began closing in on him, they say Lamb ran into a wooded area.
That's Fox's Kelly Wright. He says that's when Lamb shot himself. Another boat full of migrants has sunk en route from Turkey to Greece. 22 people are dead, 4 of them children. As refugees keep pouring into Europe, Austria is now warning it'll soon run out of shelter space while Hungary closes its border. Fox News Radio's Simon Owen live on the Serbia line.
Dave, Hungary declaring a state of emergency here, and now it's not just refugees whose path in the country is getting through this border crossing. There's a backlog of migrants. Hungary is struggling to boost people now.
And we're losing our connection with Simon, but again, he's on the border with Hungary and Serbia. They put up a big fence there and declared a state of emergency trying to keep all of these migrants out. They hope that daylight will help find 5 people still missing after a flash flood hit Hilldale, Utah, an Arizona border town. The rushing water came cascading down, sweeping a van and an SUV full of women and children off a road. 8 of them died. It still barely contained a California wildfire so fast around Middletown, people had no time to pack and lost everything.
I got the Nixle alert probably after my house was already burned down.
Hers among 720 homes destroyed by 2 fires. Can Trump take Texas?
We want to win. We're tired of being pushed around by incompetent people.
Donald Trump got the biggest cheers at his Big Dallas rally last night, railing against illegal immigration as protesters outside held a Dump Trump rally. Tonight, the Republican frontrunner rallies on a battleship in L.A. Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Call Quicken Loans now at 800-QUICKEN to see if you qualify for the government's Home Affordable Refinance Program, or HARP. And for 5 years in a row now, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction. And for the 2nd year in a row, they've also ranked us highest in mortgage servicing. Call 800-QUICKEN or visit QuickenLoans.com.
Visit jdpower.com for award information. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLSConsumerAccess.org. Number 3030.
What do Fortune 500 companies do when they need to find new workspace? They call Regis at 1-800-OFFICES. With Regis, you can easily expand today and get your people up and running tomorrow. With fully furnished tech-powered co-working spaces, offices, and admin support, Regis manages the details so you can focus on your business. Short-term, long-term, all on your terms. Regis makes it easy and affordable. Call Regis now at 1-800-OFFICES and get a free office or meeting room for a day. Regis, here to help you grow.
Authorities in Camden are making plans to establish a safe corridor through the city to accommodate everybody who's going to be walking over to Philadelphia to see the Pope at the end of the month. Camden Police Captain Al Handy says that route will feature
lighting, ambassadors, other amenities such as hydration stations, rest areas for benches, porta pots, all those things have been factored in.
When the Pope visits Philly on Sunday, September 26th, traffic in the Camden-Cherry Hill area could become snarled. Congestion could spill onto the Turnpike and Route 295. Amtrak now says they'll offer direct service to 30th Street in Philly for the Pope's visit. Stops at Metro Park, Princeton Junction, Hamilton, and Trenton. If you play fantasy football, you're going to want to hear this. New Jersey Congressman Frank Pallone is questioning if it's legal. He's asking Congress to look into it. Now, we're not talking about the friendly office and friend leagues, but the ones where you can make money. Pallone says that may be indistinguishable from sports betting and may be illegal, specifically mentioning sites like DraftKings and FanDuel. Get breaking news, weather, and traffic alerts on your cell phone. Text news to 89,000. This is the Town Square News Network.
At NJM, we're proud of the national reputation we've earned for exceptional service in auto insurance. Because what matters most is what our policyholders say about us.
My name is Rosemary LaMacha, and I have been a very happy customer of New Jersey manufacturers for over 25 years. I enjoy getting cold calls from other insurance companies because you let them give their spiel, and then I'll just say, well, I'm really not thinking of changing because I have NJM. Once you get NJM, you stay with NJM. It's just the way it is.
No wonder 95% of our policyholders, like Rosemary, renew with us every year. Now that's extraordinary. Join NJM's family of policyholders today. Get a quote now at startyournjm.com. That's startyournjm.com.
How about this September weather? A nice cool start once again with temperatures in the 50s this morning. Sunny and warm this afternoon. High temperatures will be back into the lower 80s. It'll be a little bit cooler at the Jersey Shore in the 70s today. Cool again tonight with a few clouds. Low temperatures mostly in the mid to upper 50s. We'll see occasional clouds tomorrow. Still a very nice day. High temperatures in the mid 80s. And we'll hold those mid 80s for Thursday with mostly sunny skies. That is pretty warm. We do see some humidity come back into the forecast for Friday, but still plenty of sun. I'm meteorologist Dan Zarrow.
You're about to find out why the New Jersey Broadcasters Association is inducting Harry Hurley to its Hall of Fame. Live from the studios of Town Square Media in Northfield, it's Hurley in the Morning on WPG Talk Radio 1450 and WPG1450.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is a very big day. It is the second week of Chuck using his brand new headset here that nobody else's head, nobody else's ears get to touch it. And Chuck, you know what'll happen? It'll break in. Like, it's probably a little tight right now, but it breaks in beautiful, and it'll not be too long before yours will look just like handsome like mine.
Good morning, Harry.
Good to see you, Chuck. Ladies and gentlemen, it is Chuck Malamut, and I am very, very pleased to tell you that the following program that you're going to have the pleasure to listen to is presented by Chuck Malamut, a financial advisor at Morgan Stanley. The information, views, and opinions expressed on this broadcast are those of Chuck, do not necessarily reflect those of Morgan Stanley or its affiliates. They are current as of the date of today's broadcast and are subject to change without notice. Neither the information provided nor any opinion expressed herein constitutes a solicitation for the purchase or sale of any security. This presentation is for informational purposes only, and we have a lot to talk about this morning. And Chuck, it's good to see you. Welcome to the program. How are you?
I'm great, Harry.
Good stuff.
So let's go on record right now, being that we are 2 days, several hours and minutes and seconds. And as you know, the stations that carry all this information now have the countdown clock in play.
Yes.
I did see it this morning and kind of chuckled. So you are...
I'm unwavering. You don't even have to ask the question, and I'll read your mind. I'm unwavering. There will be no increase, and I am more convinced of it now because there have been so many published reports and other media reports about how detrimental it will be. There's actually a concern about it creating a global crisis. The Fed does not have the stomach to raise interest rates at the September meeting. I guarantee it.
All right. So I guess being the contrarian.
Yeah. You're going to predict they will.
No. I'm not in totality. I'm going to go 20. There's a 25% likelihood they go now, and the 75%
But I'm only talking about now. I'm not talking about December or any of that. I'm talking about now. There's
all right. So,
no increase.
Absolutely 100% chance no is your opinion.
Well, I never go 100% because it's so difficult to ever say that because anything is possible, but it would not be the time. It's not the right time to do it.
All right, so I guess I'm
going to say unwavering, they're not going to increase interest rates at this time. They'll have some language which might hint that at the next meeting, I think it's going to be something like that, but no increase.
All right, so I guess being on the other side of the ledger, so to speak, I'm going to, and again, predict, and this is my predictions, not Morgan Stanley, because Morgan Stanley is of the opinion that there is no rate. They agree with you. There is no rate hike
because they're smart, like me.
and they predict it's going to start in December. So,
and I can probably go along with that. I think there is more of a case to be made to not let the entire year go by and be in another year, a seventh full year of this impossible, 0% rate environment. So December, I could see it. It would be small, but I could see it. It's not going to happen in September.
All right. So how about if I go on the other side and I say that there's a 1 in 4 chance that they go in September.
All right. So you like the 25% club that there could be an increase. But to me, that's not much of a prediction, though. Because here's the answer. When it doesn't happen, I'm going to say, Chuck, I didn't have any qualifiers. I said there would not be a rate hike, so I would win that question. Not that it's a contest, but in your case, if there is no rate hike, you could say, well, 75% of me felt there wouldn't be. So you're hedging is what you're doing. You're hedging your bet.
Absolutely. And why not?
All right. But if I said to you, you have to pick one, either rate increase or no rate increase.
Well, if I had to pick one, then I would say since there's 1 in 4 chances that they go now, I'm going to say they're not going to go now.
All right. Well, I think the reason that I've been able to be here for 25 years in the Nostradamus of the airwaves is that I do not put qualifiers. And if I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong, I say I'm wrong. I'm like Baby's dad in Dirty Dancing.
I seem to be missing the time. What time of day are you giving your daily stock market forecast?
Well, I didn't do it this morning because today was really, if you look at the futures, today was like the Dow was down like 11. The one indice was up a few. It's really like it's a mixed day. Although I will say this though, and I have to tell you, if these numbers turn out to be what I think they're going to be, it's really supernatural because I've never seen iPhone roll out a new version from the 6 to the 6S, and that's for both the regular size and the plus size. They're selling a record number of units, Chuck. I know I digressed out of nowhere to say that, but I was just thinking about what was mixed today and what might not be mixed. That, to me, if they do 12 million units this weekend, Chuck, that's phenomenal when you think about it. When we all just bought the iPhone 6. Like, I'm not one of the 12 million. I'm not buying. I want it, but I don't want it that bad. I just don't feel like I'm ready to get rid of this phone that quick. I like to keep them for about 2 years. If they do 12 million units, to me, that is a very, very big deal, especially
it's a huge deal
after they came out with that stupid pencil and that goofiness that they did at their last little show that they put on. Steve Jobs said there would never be a stylist. Why did they do that?
Steve Jobs is no longer here, no longer running the company, Harry.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
So we have a pretty tight timeline today. So let's get into it.
Okay.
If you take a look at last week, pretty remarkable. It was probably one of the better weeks that we've had in quite some time. The S&P, the Dow were up over 2%. The Nasdaq was almost up 3% for the week. And the 10-year Treasury that we follow as we ramp up to Thursday, that rate actually increased from 2.13 to 2.19. So as a result, corresponding fixed income bond market prices fell. So the question at hand, and everybody, it's now getting to the stage that you can't do anything except look at what Janet Yellen's going to do. And I think that the timing of the rate hike, because look, there's going to be one either September, and as I said before, Morgan Stanley's predicting December. So, the timing of the increase and how it's going to affect the markets have become the biggest item of discussion that we've had now. It seems like for quite some time.
Do you think that they have erred in the way that they keep sort of creating an environment to do something, then they don't do it, and then because I was really in their corner because I thought they were making appropriate decisions based on changing circumstances that were going on, but is the Fed proving to be sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Indecisive?
I think that the Fed is, taken, and again, maybe it's with respect to what's happening or not happening in the economy. The 0% interest rate, the free money, the ability for corporations to ramp earnings as a result of low interest rates. I think it's time. This needs to end, and what is happening here is that you have pretty much an ongoing debate. As you mentioned before, the chief economist at the World Bank, basically was banging the table and said that a rate hike could in fact trigger a financial shock and crisis in the emerging markets. Well, guess what, Harry? The emerging markets, year to date, again, fairly similar to what happened in the Shanghai market, off about 15%. The Shanghai Stock Exchange going into last night was down 2, was down again another 3. And I think what is happening now that the volatility here in the U.S. and in your traditional international non-emerging markets, as we'll refer to it, a lot of that volatility is somewhat subsided, and we are now operating as we should be. So, when the World Bank chief economist makes this statement, we all, get very concerned. Now, on the other side, the optimists believe that a rate hike is going to be positive for risk assets as we know them, and it could remove that overhang on the sentiment. And you think about it, as you mentioned a few minutes ago, it's like, how long has this been? How long will it take? And there's a sense, and that's why I kind of hedged earlier, that the Fed needs to act soon to maintain its credibility, because if they don't make a move now, everybody's going to look to the statement. The first thing that happens is, okay.
Well, if you've read every statement that they have given for a number of years, the fact they have not risen interest rates even one time is really hard to explain.
Well, yeah, and look here. So here's where we are. Investors.
What about wait? What about the? I read it out of the New Times, out of the United Kingdom,
Financial Times.
There is like a real fear that raising interest rates right now would cause some kind of global catastrophe.
Well, yeah, that's exactly, and that's what.
So why would they want to do that?
I think a lot of it is obviously data dependent, and every report that comes, the Fed is focused, and I guess, Harry, they're kind of in the starting block and trying to make that decision. Okay, are we going to go? Are we going to go now? Are we going to wait and go? Everybody says December, but that doesn't mean you can't go, in smaller incremental steps, as we talked about, several times. Maybe you go 1/8 of a point and you do it in October or November. You're not tied to going, in December per se. But what is happening now, investors are nervous, and you can see it in the market about the implications. So, one view is,
isn't that a reason not to do it?
Well, yeah, but if you look at what is happening, in this country, for the most part, the economy is in better shape than it has been in quite some time, and you just can't continue on the road that we've been on. So, economic fundamentals for the most part, Harry, are in pretty good shape, to warrant a rate increase.
So maybe take a little initial pain for ultimate gain?
Probably the start. It's a matter of starting. And if you go 25 basis points, Harry, it's not going to make a difference. So the start of a rate increase cycle could ultimately prove to be somewhat of a non-event, from not only from an economic but also a markets perspective, provided, and as you said it before, the Fed has to be able to communicate this message. I mean, it's one thing to make the initial statement, okay, here's what we're going to do. I think everybody be more focused on what the Fed says and how they say it.
Let me show you a story, Chuck, that I don't know if you saw. It's a Politico story. And I know you don't talk politics on your show, but there's an absolute financial component to this. Did you happen to see this story, Wall Street's latest panic, Trump could win?
I did not, Harry, no.
So I won't ask you to have an opinion on something you haven't seen, but the gist of it is Wall Street is evidently embracing the notion that my former boss, Donald Trump, could actually win the GOP nomination. They had not baked that in. I think they looked at him as sort of like he's in it, but he won't be in it. What rises in the summer drops in the fall, and now he's at 33%. And they're actually saying that Wall Street is growing increasingly terrified that Donald Trump, once viewed as an amusing summertime distraction, could actually win the Republican nomination for president. I'm just going to say, I never heard of Wall Street being upset that a billionaire, free market capitalist, could win one of the nominations, that would send any type of problem to Wall Street.
He took a shot at.
He was talking about hedge funds,
and now the CEOs are overpaid.
Yeah.
And I'm always I'm thinking, and I'm thinking, and again, I don't want to get political about this, but he seems to make a fair amount of money. So what's his rub in other capitalists earning a very good income? It's unfortunately, like it or not, it's the system that we've created, and it's a system that we live in. So I mean, if it's to garner votes and
could be
and other like, but certainly I will tell you that
Chuck, I love it when he says, "I'm rich, I'm rich." It's huge. I mean, I'm telling you, anything he says,
he's a great showman. There's no doubt about it.
It is just resonating. 20,000 people in Texas. It's just yesterday.
It'll be. I mean, look. Again. We have quite some time before the actual run up to the event. So if he can keep this momentum,
hey, listen, the summer's over. It's technically the calendar says no, but it's basically the fall, and the next thing you know, they're going to be voting in these early states, and he leads in them. I mean, this could happen, and evidently Wall Street isn't happy about it.
We'll see, Harry. All eyes are on Donald Trump and the Fed for sure. But I think one of the things that we need to think about here, last night, for instance, China, the Shanghai, which again is the market that is closed for investors like us. It's only open for the individual Chinese citizens. I mean, that market last night, Harry, was off about 3.5%. The Hang Seng, which is basically the Hong Kong market, was off about 0.5%, and the Nikkei, which is the Japanese market, was up about less than 0.5%. So you look at the futures today, and again, we never like to talk about what happens on a day-to-day basis, but the futures today are muted. Some of your international markets right now are up, some are down. They're ever so slightly, the changes, and the same thing holds true. If we opened up right now, it'd be pretty much a flat opening with the S&P and the Dow and the NASDAQ. So that indicates that we have worked through a lot of the volatility that pretty much spooked investors several weeks ago, and we are still chatting with our clients that are having some of them having a very, very difficult time just sort of taking a step back. And what we always advise is, look, when you have situations like this, you really need to take a look at your plan to make absolutely certain that you have everything in check. You have the right asset allocation, and within that asset allocation, you have the right subsector, so to speak. Do you have too much healthcare, technology, not enough financials, or whatever it may be? But you always need to go in there and continually tweak the portfolio. But I think what you don't want to do is lose sight of your long range goals. And unfortunately, we've had a few calls. And it's not just us; it's everywhere. What has happened here? The investor confidence has been significantly damaged as a result of the downturn that we just experienced. More so than the most previous ones that we've had, other than what we went through going through the Great Recession.
Yeah, well, this one was more significant than some of the other, if you want to call them, aftershocks. One of the things I really love about your show is that, from my posture here in the media, and you as a pure, managing director and a financial analyst and financial advisor is what I meant to say. But you are a financial analyst too, in my mind. But financial advisor is that, look at the media, and anybody that doesn't admit that the media plays such a role in so much of this. I mean, for example, the media is not talking about Greece anymore. Greece still has significant problems, and that was a Band-Aid, and they're going to have big problems again. but they're not worth talking about right now because we have China. Puerto Rico is in really bad shape, and the media had an appetite to talk about that, but Puerto Rico doesn't count right now because we have China. Isn't it interesting how things that they would be talking about, they don't talk about because something is bigger that's more interesting to them? And I'm just pointing out on the Malamut program how the media manipulates what's important and what's not important.
Yeah,
you can't deny that, can you?
Harry, great point, because Mike Torpy, our
good man,
one of my partner in on the team, and I had this discussion just yesterday afternoon as we're standing looking at the television, because we have to have the television on, looking at what's at the market. And I think his comment, because Mike is in his mid 30s. And had, grew up in the business right out of college, and he looks at me, and it was pretty interesting. And he said, "Look, the technology that we have now is so different than when he started in the business, and you absolutely have this overload, and we are throwing so much information at the general public and investors that investors oftentimes make some very, very serious mistakes because they have so much information they don't know how to digest it."
And isn't it almost it's a detriment to what I think would be a much more civilized, stable process, because the pace at which the technology and this information keeps coming in has really just put everything in almost like a warp speed, as opposed to how things were when you didn't have this second by second analysis by paralysis. Get what I'm saying?
Well, it's kind of like trying to drink out of a fire hose.
Yeah, there you go.
You just you can't
blow your face off.
And again, I'm going to date myself here, doing this close to 30 years, unlike some other folks that are close to 30 years.
Is it 29.750? Go ahead.
Well, close to 30 years in the business. The fact, if you look at the way things were back then, and we lived through the crash of '87 and a number of different events, but it was a lot easier to focus on the information because you didn't have the overload that you now have. And this is, Harry, I don't agree with the way information is disseminated to the public. And
I agree with you.
And you're absolutely correct. And I think that when we recognize that a lot of these cable stations, their number one goal was to just sell ads. And I think once you understand that, is to capture your eyeball to the next commercial.
And they get everybody crazy, Chuck. They just don't stop. It's like you just hype everybody up and jazz everybody up, and they get people's blood pressure up. And then I think they make people make decisions they otherwise wouldn't make. I think people had a better stomach for volatility until the volatility gets shown like a Freddy Krueger horror movie.
Well, you got to remember a couple other things, Harry. With the advent of technology and momentum investing and the computers, driving a lot of the trade, so to speak, you have a different sense of volatility now that you had back many, many years ago. And I think that that has hurt the average retail investor as well. They're going to say, I don't like this game anymore. I'm going to go do something different. So, as we mentioned before, investor confidence we see now is down more than we've seen in previous downturns. The narrative around China that you just chatted about a few minutes ago is going from consistent, strong growth to one where policymakers are now trying to have confused investors as to what to do, with those markets. So the pending start of this rate hike cycle has been unnerving to just so many people at this point in time. So as I said before, the average investor is just really, really amped up and not quite certain what they want to do. So, equity markets at this point in time, need some time to heal. The markets certainly appear to be somewhat oversold. The fact that equities have been unable to sustain rallies as we've gone through this volatility suggests that volatility and downward pressure, could remain with us. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, the volatility seemed to subside to a certain degree, but right now it looks like, you have to kind of sleep with one eye open because, when we go back and look from the beginning of this year through August, equity markets, move sideways before investors panicked over this concern, the mounting weakness in China. Earning headwinds related to falling oil prices that we talked about are now in place, and the stronger dollar, as well as the Fed is got this angst. They don't know what to do, and as a result of that, you have a lot of this negativity, surrounding the markets.
So, Chuck, if you don't know what to do, would the best thing be to do nothing, do no harm? It's almost like Hippocratic Oath or something, or you do no harm. If you know what to do, you do it. If you don't quite know what to do, there must be something that's negative bias there that's saying that you're not sure if you should. So if you're not sure if you should, you shouldn't. And then maybe wait till December and see if we can have, hopefully a better fourth quarter than we've had third quarter. I just think, look, Kirk Conover sent me a picture last night, Absecon, $1.99 for unleaded regular gallon of gasoline. First time I've seen it under $2. Mine's at $2.11, but whatever reason, we just pay more at my corner popsicle stand. But so that's under. And the thing I don't see, Chuck, is with these billions of dollars in the American people's pockets, because every penny represents a whole lot of money in the price of a gallon of gasoline, the consumer confidence isn't there, is it, Chuck?
No, the consumer is now starting to dip their toe in the water here. Because they're obviously concerned as to what is going on. I mean, retail sales, have been somewhat mixed. There was discussion about, how Labor Day fell and when the kids were going back to school and how those numbers are going to be impacted. But I think the consumer, for the most part, is very, very concerned about letting loose with some of that extra cash that they have.
What time will the Fed board meet on Thursday?
Well, they meet Wednesday. It's a 2-day meeting.
But Thursday, the 17th, is when we're going to.
They come 2 to 2:15 is when they come, and I know it's
had a note in my book.
Not that you want to have all eyes glued to the monitors, but as they make, it's very, very interesting as they make the initial statement. It's a one sentence or two sentence, and then they read, what their findings are. Then you just watch the market swing, one way or another.
Well, how about this? Is it? There's no guarantee here, so we're just hypothetical. If the Fed announces in the 2-ish, 3 o'clock hour on Thursday that there will not be a rate increase, I say that markets will like that very much, and they will go up. If they go and even put in 25 basis points, or you even floated this scenario that I've never heard anybody say except you, that it would be some half of that even, which I just never considered that because I've never seen it even in my banking career. It's always been either 25, 50, 100 basis points, never like 12 and a half or anything like that. But you've even floated that as a possibility. If there is a rate increase, I think the end of that trading session on Thursday will be not apocalyptic, but it will be very negative.
I'm not going to make that prediction, Harry, because here's what I think you really need to focus on. We do know that at some point in time, the Fed's going to make a move. Mm-hmm. And really what this is all about, are earnings. Earnings will start, at the end of September, first week of October, and
which points to what I'm saying. You don't do anything now because these things are coming out after the fact. You don't even know what they're going to be. What if they're not good? And you already did this.
Here's what happens. U.S. equities, as we know them, need to get by on earnings growth, and that hasn't happened much of late. We've talked about the continual reduction of expenses, and oftentimes, companies not being able to get to the top line. So we need to get through that rather than depending upon the Fed inducing growth of earnings with these very, very, with no interest rates. The saver that we've talked about has just been absolutely, hurt significantly over the last 5 years. I mean, so what has happened, you're not earning any income, so to speak, from your savings accounts and your short-term certificates. So that forces investors or savers into riskier assets to capture yield, and then ultimately you see what happens.
And then the risk principle. 2 minutes, Chuck. Closing comments.
Well, Harry, look, as I mentioned before, all eyes are on the Fed. We'll know in 2 days plus what's going to happen.
How come some people say all eyes are on the Fed? That makes it a huge deal, and some people don't think it's any big deal at all because it's just so it's kind of interesting, isn't it?
It is, because I think it's not so much that they're the problem. Not the problem is what has to happen is you have to get started, and the question is, when are you going to get started? So,
but the national media is going to be watching that announcement like a hawk. And the moment it comes out, and especially if there is a rate increase, they're going to go bananas with it.
Here's what's happening, and a lot of people don't understand this or not watching. Investors obviously have been on edge since we came out of the Great Recession, and economic trends for the most part are starting to get better. Fourth quarter hiring plans look to be fairly strong in the small business sector, and when you think about, if this continues with larger companies having problems, S&P 500 companies represent 17% of the hiring. So there is a lot of job growth, outside of the S&P 500. So
it's a good comment.
We hit the highest level since 2007, with larger companies hiring. So I think that's out there, Harry, and I think that's sort of a lot of the information that the Fed is struggling with right now.
Does this almost make you want to raise your 25% pick higher? I mean, you made a you actually made. I'm a persuadable man. When someone shows me I'm wrong or points something out that is very reasonable, you made a case just there. I don't know if it was your intention, but you made the case that a 25 basis point rate increase could easily occur this Thursday.
I think we need to get started, and I think it's pretty evident. If unfortunately, timing in life is everything, Harry. And if we didn't go through, we went through, and at the end, August 24th or thereabouts, it would be no doubt it would happen. I think the Fed's got to look at China, Fed's got to look at Europe, Fed's got to look at Japan, and then I think they can make the right decision. So. You say yay?
I say no. No, I'm saying no increase.
Oh, you're saying no increase, 100% not happening.
I just said you made a very good case for one.
And I'm going to take the other. Always got to take the other side, but I'm not going to. I can't take the other side in totality.
Understood. You're hedging. You're hedging your bet. You're giving a qualifier. You'll look very smart if they raise it because you can come back.
And I won't look terribly stupid if they don't either.
I know. You got it.
There you go.
You got it going. Chuck, thank you.
Harry,
to be continued.
Thanks for having me. We'll see you next week.
We have a wonderful guest standing by as well, NFL superstar A.J. Green. 4 years, he has amassed more reception yards than any players in the history of the game in their first 4 seasons. When you think about it, it's absolutely incredible, except for Randy Moss, Jerry Rice, Torrey Holt, and then it is A.J. Green who is standing by next. We'll be back in less than 2 minutes.
Who killed Bill Korecki? The 22-year-old shot 9 times in a parking lot in Aberdeen. The Monmouth County prosecutor isn't saying much. But his sister is telling a strange tale. She says Bill got a mysterious call from a block number. He left the house. Short time later, he was dead. Much more to this story as part of the exclusive content you'll find on our website this morning. A 23-year-old New Jersey man who'd worked at a South Jersey day camp charged with possession and distribution of child porn after police raided his Moorestown home. Daniel Chance spent a year as a counselor at Liberty Lake Day Camp in Mansfield. He was a former camper there. The owner of the camp sent an email to parents last night saying Chance was never alone with any of the kids. A just-out study finds most employers are pushing their employees to do too much, more with less, but it backfires because workers get burnt out and are less productive. Smart managers understand workers need time to de-stress and recharge.
Anytime an employee is happy, you get more efficiencies out of your employees.
And unlike computers, experts say employees need to be given a pat on the back every once in a while. Get breaking news, weather, and traffic alerts on your cell phone. Text news to 89,000. This is the Town Square News Network.
This is Harry Hurley, and I'm with the Mayor, Charles Kane, owner and operator of the Auto Plaza, Egg Harbor Township. Mayor, tell your listeners who are looking for a car, why should they choose the Auto Plaza?
Harry, it's our full-service department, selection, and hassle-free financing alternatives that have set us apart for over 17 years. Over the years, we've been the recipient of many sales and service awards, as well as receiving an A-plus rating with the Better Business Bureau. It's been a real honor for us. We are now serving a second generation of sales and service customers. Stop in today. You're going to love our staff and experience what makes us different.
For all of your automobile service, parts, and sales needs, call the Auto Plaza at 609-646-2447. That's 609-646-2447. And visit us on the World Wide Web at myautoplaza.com.
The Auto Plaza at English Creek. Roll with Mr. Tire.
This is Harry Hurley for Green Tree Mortgage. Bill Malamut has been the official mortgage expert to the Hurley in the Morning radio program for many years. Bill and Jim Malamut are now with Green Tree Mortgage. That's really the only thing that's changed, just the name. Their address remains exactly the same at 1009 South Main Street in Pleasantville, and their phone number is exactly the same, 646-5555. The same Malamut level of quality of service also remains unchanged. I have personally done a number of full-service mortgage deals with Bill and Jim Malamut. Their quality of service, attention to detail, and follow-up systems are always outstanding. If you're looking for your first mortgage, a second home acquisition, or perhaps you're looking to enjoy the still very attractive low interest rates available to refinance your current mortgage, turn to Green Tree Mortgage, Bill and Jim Malamut for all of your mortgage needs. Turn to a relationship builder, not an order taker, with Green Tree Mortgage. Bill and Jim Malamut, 609-646-5555. All right, here's the story, and I don't want to take too much time away from our great interview that we're going to have with A.J. Green, but when you think about it, in the entire history of the NFL, and we're talking about since the merger, so we're talking, a number of years, many, many years, several generations, the only players to achieve more receiving yards in their first 4 seasons in the NFL than A.J. Green are Randy Moss, Torrey Holt, and Jerry Rice. And Jerry Rice only had 7 more yards than A.J. Green had in the first 4 years. That is great company. Wouldn't you say, A.J. Green? You're pretty good company, my man.
It is. I got a long way to go, though.
I know you do, but isn't that kind of amazing when you think about that? Because look, you've been in 4 years now. It's your 5th year. That's all we know, and that's where you are right now. So, in other words, if you keep that going, you're doing something very, very special.
Yeah. I just gotta keep working and keep getting better each year, and we see what happens when it's all said and done.
And I do want to thank Rock and Refuel for making it possible for us to spend the next 8-9 minutes that we have, because we want to get AJ out on time for his next appointment. And I love today's topic, AJ. We're going to be, and by the way, congratulations. It's really great to be 1-0, especially when I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan, as you know, and we're 0-1, and that was just a tragedy last night. That was just terrible. I'll tell you, that was really unexpected. But you took care of business. You had a really good game. Your team had a great game, 33-13. You beat the Raiders. You took care of your business. You did what you're supposed to do. And even though I don't get crazy over one game, it is important to get off to a good start, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No game is important than the first one, and the one we're playing. So it's good that we got that game out the way and with a W, and then on to the next one.
How did it feel for you? And then we'll get to some of the topics of today's show. How did it feel for you when the Bengals signed you through 2019, so you have, long-term, if you will, labor peace and, financial security and some really important things, because you play a dangerous sport. I imagine for you and your family and all that, it must have felt very good, didn't it?
Oh, yeah, of course. It felt great. A lot of hard work leading up to this point. And I'm just honored and blessed to be able to be in a situation where to get a new deal and continue my football career in Cincinnati. And it's just, unbelievable.
And then they signed Andy Dalton with you. You're both good till like 19-20 season, and you guys are the foundation of the Bengals offense, and now we know for years to come. So we congratulate you, AJ. And let me ask you about maintaining a well-balanced diet, because that does help you in terms of keeping at the weight. You want to be at a certain weight for your playing, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
Talk a little bit about it.
I think for me is it's keeping my cardio up and maintaining my weight. You know, I'm a slender body build, slender built than a lot of other people. You know, I'm long, lean, so you know, drinking Rock and Refuel protein drink, it really helps me, because if I can't get a really good meal in, or just I need something on my stomach, you know, it tastes great, and it's fresh milk, man, and that's the biggest thing. It doesn't leave a aftertaste in your mouth, so it's high on protein, which I need to fuel my body after, you know, practice or post workout. So.
You know, AJ, here's something that even though, you know, obviously professionals think about staying hydrated, because if you become dehydrated, next thing you know, you're on the sidelines, you're with some horrible cramps, and then you're not in the game like you should be, and you can get injured, and you pull things sometimes when you're dehydrated and not doing the right stuff. So staying hydrated is very important, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, of course. And during the season, you know, I try to stay away from the sugar and the soda during the season, and more focus on water and sometimes Gatorade. And I think that's the biggest thing is for me to stay hydrated, definitely during the game, because like you said, you don't want to be out there with cramps and dehydrated and have to go get in during halftime, get an IV, and then come back and miss some time. So the biggest thing for me is stay hydrated on the sidelines and during the week.
We're visiting with NFL superstar A.J. Green, one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. And I mentioned at the beginning, his first 4 years, almost impossible to top it, and only 3 people in the entire history of the game have. And they're names that I'm sure that anybody would be honored to be in that same company. Next week, you're going to play the Chargers. Tell us your thoughts in terms of the upcoming season. What are your expectations?
You know, for us, it's getting over that hump. And that's trying to win a playoff game. And I think the biggest thing for us is taking each game, each week, and like tunnel vision. Keep our head down, keep grinding through these weeks, and when that playoff time comes, just try to go out there and win the game. I think that's the biggest thing for us is keep grinding and stay in tune during the regular season and try to get some momentum going into the playoffs.
You know, I'm such a huge fan of the NFL. I love baseball, too, and some of the other sports. I love the NBA, college basketball, maybe even more than NBA basketball. But the NFL, what a spectacle. What an amazing, you know, it's a business, but what an amazing sport. I mean, it's just incredible to see how the league just continues to grow. And correct me if I'm wrong, AJ, but it's just as a fan, but you know it on the inside as a star player. I don't want to say this to put anything down in the past, but there used to be maybe a week where you knew it was a win. You almost knew, unless, my gosh, something like the Eagles last night forgot to show up in the first half, that you're going to get a win. But there's so much parity in the league anymore. It's so evenly matched that every week is a war, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it's every week. It don't matter who you playing. It's going to be a battle every Sunday, no matter what's the name of the team, man. And I think that's the love of this game. It's so competitive on each level, man. It's just you can go out there, you can be playing an 0-15 team and still get your butt kicked. So I think that's the love of football, man. It's always competitive. You're gonna get a good game every week.
What do you think it is, AJ? I know you're gonna get out of here in about a minute or so. What do you think it is about the NFL that the fans just? I mean, the term fan is short for fanatic. Fans are fanatical about the NFL. They love it. What do you think it is about the NFL that's the case?
I think it's just the excitement, man. It's just the tailgate parties and leading up to the big game, and then, you know, winning, I guess. And I think the biggest thing for us is just the competitive nature that us football players have, and we go out there and put on a great show every week because we're so competitive.
What I want to do is I want to thank Rock and Refuel for powering this A.J. Green interview this morning. And now that we've met, I'm even pushing for you even more. I was telling my son that you were coming on. He knew exactly who you were. I'll tell you what, you're a fantasy football just joy. You should see how high you went up in my son's fantasy football league that he's in. You were way up there because you deliver the goods. I mean, every single week you can be counted upon, and that's to your credit, AJ.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Wish you a lot of success. Most importantly, stay healthy, Have a great year. I'm very confident you're going to have another all-pro year. I didn't mention that, but I did before you arrived. Half the time you've been in the league, you've been an all-pro, 2 out of 4, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
All right, well, this will be 3. Have a great season. Stay healthy, and wish you all the best, AJ.
All right, thank you.
Take care. See you now. We're going to take a brief time out. We're coming right back. He's AJ Green. I'm Hurley in the Morning, and we'll be back in just a few minutes if you want to jump in. It is our last open forum of the morning at 6:09. 407-1450. That's 609-407-1450. Hurley in the Morning on WPG. Talk Radio 1450.
WPG Talk Radio 1450 continues to be the only station in South Jersey that gives you direct, unfiltered access to the area's political leaders. We have your chance to talk to Atlantic City Mayor Don Guardian Thursday evening at 6. It's Ask the Mayor, brought to you by the New Jersey Casino Reinvestment Development Authority and Municipal Equipment Enterprises on Fire Road in EHT, your New Jersey contract headquarters. Ask the Mayor, Thursday evening at 6 on WPG Talk Radio 1450.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff is brought to you by Atlantic Care. Healthcare you can believe in.
I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update. As the school bells begin to ring and we slip away from lazy summer days to crisp autumn weather, it's a good time to refocus our efforts on a fall fitness program. Cooler temperatures are great for walking, hiking, and cycling. Discover park trails, kayak or canoe along a new waterway, or enjoy throwing a ball or a frisbee around on our much less crowded beaches. Fall is a great time to learn something new. Many classes at gyms and other facilities get started in the fall, so think outside the box. Try ballroom dancing, boxing, yoga, or a new workout class. When it comes to fitness, forget January. Think of September as the new year. I'm Robin Stoloff for Health Update.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff is brought to you by Atlantic Care. Healthcare you can believe in.
At the corner of Arctic and Georgia Avenues in Atlantic City, Angeloni's 2 Restaurant and Lounge has been providing you with wonderful dining experience for the past 3.5 decades. Now owner Alan Angeloni is proud to introduce Mama Angeloni's Sunday Dinner. This is a fabulous $25 4-course dinner each Sunday from 4 to 11 p.m. You have 5 different appetizers to choose from: eggplant, mussels, red or white, long hot peppers and marinara sauce, fried calamari or roasted peppers with fresh mozzarella. You have 8 different entrees to choose from: veal parmesan, veal marsala, chicken parmesan, broiled flounder, flounder franchise, fettuccine alfredo, and eggplant lasagna vegetarian. You also have your choice of house salad or a cup of soup. Your server will coordinate your dessert with the daily choices. The $35 and $45 holiday packages and happy hours are still in effect. At Angeloni's 2 Restaurant and Lounge, call 609-344-7875 to reserve. 609-407-1450 if you'd like to jump in, anything that you would like to talk about in open forum that we have for the next 7 minutes, and then we're going to feather into some important interviews that we're going to close out today's program with. Paul Rotella. Actually, I'm not happy that Dr. Newkirk can't be here today, but we'll make it up later in the week, or later in the month rather, with Dr. Newkirk, who would normally be here almost faithfully, never misses. Today could not be avoided, so we're going to reschedule Dr. Newkirk, but Paul Rotella is going to be here to talk about Miss America, to talk about the upcoming Atlantic City Business Summit, and then the final 20 minutes from 9:40 until 10 with Paul Herron, Executive Director, Maestro Jed Galen, Conductor and Music Director of the Bay Atlantic Symphony. We've done a number of interviews with Maestro Jed, and Paul is just a prince as well, but Maestro is just incredible. And I cannot wait for the 20 minutes that we have to talk about the gala concert that's this Saturday. It's a pop-style concert. It's titled Rodgers and Hammerstein Celebration, with host Oscar Andy Hammerstein III, which is just incredible pedigree right there. When you have a name that's in the name of the actual concert itself, and legendary like Hammerstein, you know what I'm saying. It's very, very neat. This part of our program is also brought to us by All Season Solar. I spoke to Frank Neal yesterday. He'll be here tomorrow in the 9 o'clock hour. Always love the time that we spend monthly, once a month, on the third Wednesday of every month. We visit with Frank Neal, All Season Solar, the official solar energy provider and company to the Hurley in the Morning program. They install the most attractive, efficient, state-of-the-art solar photovoltaic systems from the world's leading manufacturers. I'm very happy for a good friend of mine, Captain Brian Helm, because they are all signed up and they are beginning the process of having their own personal, what I call, power plant. And that's really great news. And I have to say, and I am so grateful. Brian, I know because he told me. I will tell you that Frank Neal doesn't tell me names. I just like it to be that way. We're happy that you listen to our message. And when we tell you this is our official this or that, that's where you go. And it means everything to me. And I was blown away by the number of listeners who have either already signed up or are in the process of signing up and deciding. And the captain is listening. So thank you, Captain. So the Captain Helm Power Plant will be up in the not-too-distant future, and you're going to love it. It is a life-changing event. What you have to do is trust Frank, because I promise you he's not going to steer you wrong. When you get your last year, Brian went through it. If it didn't make sense, he wouldn't be doing it. When you get your 12 months of kilowatt electrical consumption, and it's easy to get right from it's almost everybody listening. You're dealing with Atlantic City Electric. You can do it without even calling them. If you go on the website, if you use either the app or you go on to the AtlanticCityElectric.com website, you just go print your last 12 months. And then when Frank Neal takes a look at that, he's going to be able to tell you how much you can save. It's very simple. It is purely a numbers thing. All Season Solar takes care of everything. They design your system, engineering of it, building permits, installation, the ultimate utility connection. Call Frank Neal, 609-317-5491. And by the way, if you have a question for Frank Neal, tomorrow morning in the 9 o'clock hour is a great opportunity to be able to talk to Frank directly, and you can pose that question right over the air or certainly talk to him offline at 609-317-5491. It's never been easier to go solar. No deposits, no hidden fees, no out-of-pocket costs. Call Frank Neal. No obligation, I promise you. It's not low pressure, it's no pressure. If it makes sense, you do it. If it doesn't, no problem. 609-317-5491. 609-317-5491. All Season Solar. Tell them I sent you. Don't do as I do. Do as Captain Brian Helm did. He signed up, and I know he's going to be very, very happy. 2-minute drill. Let me share with you. This I found to be both educational and amusing. And you know I love to have fun. In fact, somebody wrote me very close to me a little while ago and said how much fun I'm having this morning when I was doing the thing with Paul Rotella, the Machetta speed reader. John Machetta is the former iconic FedEx pitchman. And I don't even remember how many years when I interview John, I get straight on all that. But John's been on the program several times. We had him do speed reading over it's just amazing. And I was teasing Paul that his papal spot, and I'm sure it was because of the subject matter of the Holy Father, that Rotella was speaking like the former FedEx pitchman. They did bring him back, and it was very cool in like a retro type of deal where he had done it for so long, and then he hadn't done it for a while. And I'm pretty sure that this is accurate. I don't think I'm sort of creating a false memory, but I think he came back, and it was just awesome because what he did in that era when he became so synonymous with the brand, very, very cool. All right, so in the moment that we have, this is a New York Post story, and there's a public relations firm that hires mostly Democrats, but there's a handful of Republicans, and that might even be a stretch to say a handful, probably less than a handful. But one of them quit, and they quit over Anthony Weiner, and I can't stand it when the good guys leave and the bad guys stay. And I'm just going to say it. I think Anthony Weiner is just a horrendous person. Horrendous. Unfaithful to his wife. And as usual, with these crazy, bizarro, times that we live in, there doesn't seem to be any price to pay for that. But ultimately, believe me, there is. Weiner is married to Uma Abedin, Hillary Clinton's longtime top aide, and if Hillary wins the presidency, Uma Abedin is going to be like Valerie Jarrett. You wait and see. I mean, I can't believe that the American people would want Carlos Danger as Hillary Clinton's top aide's husband. That's Anthony Weiner, in case you didn't know. But this guy, Arthur Schwartz, he was senior vice president and managing director of this corporate communication firm, and he quit over Anthony Weiner.
Michael Savage and the Savage Nation. Weeknights at 9. WPG Atlantic City and WPG1450.com.
Award-winning speed talker Paul Rotella is next.
Fox News Radio. I'm Dave Anthony. There's a lot of mud and debris to sift through in the search for 5 people still missing after a flash flood hit Utah, killing 8 others. Fox News Radio's Tanya J. Powers has the latest live.
More rain is expected today, which could hamper rescue efforts. The wall of water swept away an SUV and a van with women and children inside on Monday. Hilldale Mayor Philip Barlow says flooding is common there.
It's a wake-up call to the community that it's real. You know, we get these big floods that go down through as long as I can remember.